Welcome everybody to the stream. Sorry to interrupt. Welcome to the stream, everybody. This is Final Fantasy X. It's going to be a Blitzball stream because I kind of need to do it. And I got a special guest with me today.
Aloha.
That's their name. Aloha.
No, I'm April Flowers. Just, I know, like, Tsukiyomi here from Discord, so yeah, he invited me over to join, and I just said, sure, why not? So I'm here.
Yeah.
Or do you want me to call me Tsukiyomi or Tyrant Elder?
You can call me either.
Okay, I'll call you Tsukiyomi.
Alright. I kind of like Tsukiyomi a little bit better because I just have Okami on the mind every single day, so I'm just always thinking about Tsukiyomi and Okami.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I'm just here. Kind of.
That's my friend in the chat. I can't believe he got the notification. Z. Watch, this idiot came and hit me. But yeah, you can promote your story here too while we're at it in the beginning.
Really what you're helping me do, just sort of chill out my writing, son. Like,
even though I think
internet,
I think at this point, I think you have more people following your story than I have between both my YouTube and Twitch account.
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of modest because I'm still kind of new to it. Writing is. I've actually picked up like a friend who's like a co-writer. Unfortunately, she's not there with us at the moment, but her name's she's been helping me a lot.
Right.
With writing, because I find it easier to write when there's someone to bounce off.
Yeah. Also, I'm not gonna lose at this game. My last Blitzball league was like I scored 44 points throughout 10 games, and that was me being generous because I don't like.
But yeah,
I don't like being on
for
Blitzball.
those who aren't in the know, I'd write a story on our archive of our AO3. It's just abbreviating, called Prince of Ashes. It's a Kingdom Hearts fanfiction, but it involves original elements, and it takes place after the events of KH3, specifically Remind, and it will incorporate elements of Melody of Memory, but not completely.
I kind of hope there's like a section where someone like Tara's like, why are we running on this music pattern grid?
I definitely do think I tend to kind of. I won't say too much about specific elements which I will and will not include.
Right.
And I try to keep it as vague as possible. But there's also original elements as well, like any original characters that originate from a version of our reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, very far into it at the moment, so I would suggest checking it out. It's actually pretty good.
Where were you at right now? You said you were at 4 or something.
I read up to 3, and 4 is where I'm currently at if I were to start reading it right now. And that's where we're going to do the live reading after this.
But yeah, you have any questions so far about kind of like the lore, or at least somewhat that has been released as of now?
Well, from what we talked about through text on Discord, I know that a lot of I know that a lot of things in the story are going to be based on kind of like a lot of mythology and stuff. And
yes,
I was kind of trying to piece it together in my head because I don't know a lot about every other mythology in the world. I just know like a couple bits and pieces about certain ones. So I was trying to piece together like, what are the names of Asher's demons? Like, what do they mean? And I don't think I could find out any of them, but I did figure out that one of them was an angel. I don't remember if you told me specifically, but I did figure out one of them was an angel just because his name sounded somewhat like what you would see in an angel's name.
Yeah, Remiel? Yeah, that's it. And if I actually have the pictures of Remiel now. I'll send it to you on. I can send it to you on Discord actually.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, like, to give you a sense, the way I kind of, well, you know how sometimes if you ever look at characters that don't have voices and kind of headcanon what they sound like.
Yeah.
For me, this is kind of funny given their physical appearance, but Remiel I kind of pictured in my head as sounding a bit like Keith David.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the original voice actor of characters like Spawn, Goliath.
Right.
Like Egoliath, Gargoyles, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, here's a picture from the story, and this is what Remiel looks like. Remiel's on the right.
Oh.
Yeah, imagine Keith David's voice coming out of that.
I can't be like too attentive on Discord at the moment, but
yeah, no. I sent it to you so you can look at it after.
yeah.
But yeah, all the others are kind of connected in some way, as of right now, to Abrahamic beliefs. So stuff like Judaism, Christianity, like the different, like all the different branches of it. Islam. It's sort of like mainly monotheism, but but there will be other stuff involved later.
Yeah.
And it will kind of be like a values dissonance of sorts when it comes to the demons and how they behave.
Yeah, it was one of the demons. So I can't say his name, but it's
Focalar,
yeah, Focalar. And he was just like, he kind of reminds me of, or he kind of makes me think of what like Lee would be if Lee was a lot more mature. Like it's just kind of like really energetic, but like also kind of rude to people.
Very crass, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's like very much in that kind. Like the reason, like when I had some, I was thinking of the character and stuff like that, and I imagined their personality. I just kind of went like, make him a gremlin, essentially, like gremlin personality, if that makes sense.
Right. I can kind of associate with those characters because a lot of people call me an asshole, and I can just, I kind of act like that around people.
Yeah.
So I can kind of associate with that. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are. Like, it depends on your interpretation.
Yeah. Yeah, you could have like Helltaker demons, which are kind of polite, but at the same time will definitely kill you if you mess up.
Yeah.
I do like how every story has different interpretations of demons, and it's not just one person's idea of it became the norm. Because that's something you see in movies, where like someone's idea is always the norm, and it's aggravating sometimes.
Yeah, it's weird how much like it's essentially like fan fiction can affect like actual belief. Like, for example, how the idea of the concept of hell, for example, in like Christian thought, when a lot of it, like, you know, the seven rings of, like, light rings of hell, the different interpretation of all the punishments and stuff like that, that was never in the original, like, in the original story.
Yeah, that was, I believe hell was added in the New Testament.
That was created as basically fan fiction.
Yeah.
Like by Dante Alighieri. With himself as like an insert, like a fictionalized version of himself, like author insert. Like, I mean, it's really just kind of him just there, just kind of, I mean, hell, some of the people that are, no pun intended, some of the people that are in, like, being punished are people he didn't like.
Yeah.
So it's like, and this didn't really have to be anything directly offensive, they just had to be of the neighboring city.
Yeah, he was like,
that his hometown had a beef with. Like,
he was like,
all he had to do
he was like, these people are in this bad place, and I say so because the character in this book said so, and I mean, he's kind of like me. He knows what he's talking about.
Nobody will question Virgil Senpai.
I mean, he's right. And almost nobody really has until more modern times.
Yeah. And it's stuff like that, especially, for example, like the Divine Comedy, Paradise Lost. But yeah, so that's why I try to stick to as much of like original thought as I can, because I want to be as authentic as I can, instead of just kind of
Right.
yeah.
I remember, because I don't know a lot about like the background story behind when each religious script was made, but I do know that the Old Testament of the Bible is basically like a copy of what Judaism had at the time, and then the New Testament is where you actually get into Christianity as we would know it today.
Yeah. The thing is, like, the one thing I want to kind of dissect as well, in a sense, is the idea, and it's kind of played in Kingdom Hearts to an extent as well, this idea, because, let's be honest, Kingdom Hearts has a lot of biblical things to it. Like, Sora is, for all intents and purposes, a Jesus figure.
Pretty much.
Like, if Jesus was like a 15, 16-year-old, like Asian kid who basically traveled around with two cartoon, like, mascots, beating up people with a giant key.
I mean, Jesus was a weeaboo and he had the power to do anything. He would definitely make, like, anime characters or cartoon characters that he really liked to travel with them do it.
Power of God in anime.
Yeah. I can see that. But also, it's like, the actual, like, historical Jesus that the biblical Jesus was based on, that people think is the one, like, was, like, really kind of eccentric and stuff like that, so I can kind of see Sora and the historical Jesus being based on the same guy.
Must be them both being really chill people, for the most part. Like, I mean, let's be honest, both of them are very nice, like, to almost, like, absurd degrees.
Yeah.
Of just being nice to people.
Yeah, so I think the only time Sora really wasn't nice to anybody was probably like Tarzan, and even then he was still nice to him, he just couldn't communicate with him because he didn't know what he was saying.
Yeah, it's like, it's stuff like that. I do kind of bring stuff up there as well. And also, like, the theme of, like, because one thing I want to sort of dissect as well is the idea of a dissection of the idea that light is good, darkness is evil.
Yeah.
As well, to an extent, because in real, like, because there are people in real life who say, "Oh, I support the light," and yada yada, and they're some of the biggest scumbags on the earth.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because, like, I think Kingdom Hearts only started tampering with that idea at around Birth by Sleep, and
with Ericus.
Yeah, and then kind of went further into that in 3D and 3, but I kind of like the idea that light isn't all that it seems, like there's something deeper to light, and that's what Master Ericus is Master of Masters is supposed to be, like, he's supposed to be the embodiment of light or something, but he's like,
he's basically in charge of child genocide.
Yeah. That guy just tried shooting on me.
I definitely do intend to play with that as well, because I do have original characters that will play into it as well.
Mm-hmm.
This idea.
I'm kind of interested, that at the start of the 3rd chapter, there's the hooded figure. Yeah, I'm kind of interested on who that is going to end up being.
Yeah.
Because the person kind of talks like Master of Masters, but at the same time, he doesn't really say anything that the Master of Masters would probably say. So it's really interesting to me what he's probably going to end up being.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, I probably will revise stuff as I go along, like, after the main, like, release, because it's still a work in progress even when it's chapters are being published.
Mm-hmm.
Because I may sort of fix the compare things later on to kind of give more context.
Yeah.
Or stuff.
I think that we were talking about before, like deconstructing things that are typically seen as good and stuff. I think that's kind of something we have in common with stories, because Final Fantasy X does that with religion, like organized religion. And I really like how they go about doing it, because they don't like demonize it, but they show like on the surface it's a good thing, but then when you get down into it, it's like it's really not all it's cracked up to be. Yeah.
I'd agree with that idea to an extent.
Like on the government level, it's really corrupt, and I'm like, huh, weird how powerful
it's like how not necessarily Christianity itself is, or religion itself is bad. It's just when it falls into when you mix church and state.
Yeah.
Especially it becomes a horrible combination. Like you see it in lots of places. Like you see it in the Middle East. You see it in the States. You see it in and honestly, it can be like a horrible. It's like a horrible mix when it's I don't think the ideas of what happens with China or anything is any better. For example, the idea of completely erasing religion from society, unless you keep it really, really low key. There should be that balance.
I would say if I draw a line between religiosity and spirituality, and it's to me, I think people who are religious but don't necessarily follow the book in any real way. Side note, stupid Blitzball move, but okay. But I think people who are religious but don't follow the book are more spiritual rather than religious, because to follow the book would mean that you follow all the teachings in it, or at least most of the teachings. And I wouldn't do that, and even if I agree with some of the teachings, because I just don't like cherry picking source things. I'm someone who, I defend a couple things like Harry Potter, but even then I'll look at Harry Potter's the systems where Hogwarts is at, the Sorting Hat and how it works, and I'll try and deconstruct that. Okay, well that's stupid, but overall it's a nice experience. And I kind of like that with religion.
Honestly, and I'll be honest, sometimes there's moments where I look at this and it's it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idea of everything in the Bible are supposed to be 100% literal. One that's but there's stuff in there. It's well, that contradicts with basic science.
Yeah.
Or history. So do I think some stuff happened as the way it did in the Bible? Jason? Sure. Do I think it's a 100% truthful depiction? Or honest depiction? Oh no, I think there's stuff that is metaphor or other stuff that is just completely made up just to make look good,
the only thing we can really prove that was true from stuff in the Bible, in the Torah, and the, I can't remember the name of Islam's book, Quran. The only the only thing we can really prove that's true in those is town names and people's names that could have existed at the time,
or certain events later on. Obviously you can verify stuff in the later parts of the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran happened as because those are basic because there's other sources to verify. And
then I don't know if you've ever watched any religious people on really religious Christians, or especially on
YouTube. Fundies?
Yeah, but there are people who who will say well, the prophecy in this book was right because it came true in this one. I'm yeah, but the prophecy in that book was written 100 years before it came out.
Lots of things can happen.
Yeah, and also it's if it really all is just a story made up by mankind.
That's another thing I do intend on dissecting, is the idea of the idea of because that also comes to a laziness too, because that was do I necessarily think you should actively go seeking out every single thing?
Mm-hmm.
To make it come true? Absolutely not, because that can be just as bad as it's trying to because actively kind of ignoring stuff can be just as bad as, say, taking it seriously, but then you go about it in all the wrong ways.
Right. I have this thing that I call the Bible, specifically the Bible, because it's okay to make fun of Christianity, but not anything else nowadays, apparently. But people get really angry when I refer to it as, I can't say it on Twitch, I'll get banned, as a RAPE book, if you get my drift. And people get really mad at that. And I'm like, well, look in between the lines. All those texts that you take out of the book and you say you believe, read before and after all those. And then...
Yeah, and also there's moments in it when you look at it and where, there's like the conflicting images. Well, I mean, because especially when it comes like to the idea of like God being nice and stuff, and then God just being like the pettiest arse.
Yeah.
Like, you get me.
I especially love how it's like, I love how it says God's all good and he's all loving, and then Noah's flood happens and he's like, drown, drown. I'm like, huh.
Yeah,
weird.
Also like the idea of like preachers preaching like the idea of God as a jealous God. It's like, that sounds like something like a person like abusive relationship would use it for justification.
Yeah.
Do I fully subscribe to the idea that God is like that? No. But it says something about the people who preach it as well,
Yeah.
Constantly, like.
There was a YouTuber.
But don't worry, there's like, it'll come up, especially the idea, because it's like a difference of perspective, I guess.
It's really weird. I was never actually gonna make this, but I had like an idea for a story one time where it's like, Hitler dies in World War II, and then like he ends up in heaven, and it's not like what it seems like. That, because he was a creationist, like a young Earth creationist, so he goes there thinking it's all nice and stuff, but then he finds out that God is like this authoritarian ruler, and he tries to like build an army to kind of overthrow him, but then at the end, it's like a couple of years have passed and he realizes, like he looks back and realizes, oh no, I'm just the same as him, and then like he would have to sort that out. And I kind of thought that was interesting, but I was never skilled enough to actually follow through with writing that.
Yeah, and I can understand like the premise is also very dodgy.
Yeah, it was also kind of a joke, because I was thinking about like making it just like a Gilgamesh style epic. But like where he just goes around.
Well, you mean like all these different kind of chapters and stuff like that?
Yeah, he like travels like thousands of leagues, and like meets these incredibly strong people, and then just builds like this super army. And I'm like, that was kind of a joke behind it.
Yeah.
But at the same,
would there be tons of like homoerotic stuff, like with like Gilgamesh and Enkidu?
I wasn't gonna go that far because I didn't know about that stuff by the time I was thinking about it. I just knew about the epic of Gilgamesh.
There definitely is elements of that to a degree, but yeah, it's funny because I'm guessing you know about the series like Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night and stuff like that.
I do know about them. I haven't seen them.
Well, there's an Enkidu in those as well, but the thing is that the original stories depict him as like a wild man.
Right.
Yet, with a big hairy wild man, like almost like an animal.
Yeah.
Enkidu in the Fate Apocrypha, I think, which for the Fates series, is depicted as like a white-haired pretty boy. I'm looking at it's almost egregious as the fact that they turned Gilgamesh, like a Middle Eastern, dark-skinned, dark-haired guy into like a blonde, blue-eyed, guy in more medieval armor. It's just
it's like a weird reincarnation.
Yeah, it's just weird that it's why I kind of look at this stuff and I want to stick to this as much as faithfully as possible, while still having fun with the idea.
Yeah. Oh, come on. 13.
But yeah, anyway, sorry, we kind of got off topic, but back to something else like the story. Do you have any other questions with the?
I was just beating the shit out of people and stealing a rubber ball.
Yeah, of course, because as you do.
Yeah.
Would you have any other questions about, like, say, like, story or, like, kind of lore or stuff like that I'm...
A few of my questions right now, as it is, would just be more like a what made you think of this particular thing scenario, like Chernobog to be a big villain in the story. Like, what kind of made you think of Chernobog instead of someone else?
The fact is that Chernobog, unlike most of the villains, can be tied to real life, because Chernobog is a real figure in Slavic folklore. Like, he's literally the god of evil. That is his designation.
I didn't know that.
In old, like, Russian, like, Eastern European stories. So I was thinking, well, it's kind of that bridge. He's kind of that bridge for example. Like, kind of like how he's a bridge between Disney and Kingdom Hearts in terms of beings. Also that, guy with fingers.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking it was because Chernobog was, like, basically, whenever he showed up in Disney and Fantasia, he was like a metaphor for what Lucifer is supposed to be. Yeah, I was thinking that was the case.
Yeah, he's kind of used as the stand-in.
Yeah. So, Sora, in his first ever adventure, literally killed Lucifer.
Well, yeah, I do kind of want to make a distinction because obviously he's meant to be more like...
Yeah. But it's like a Disney thing where they turn him into that sort of image.
Though, to be fair, that's not far from his original depiction. And also, he's interesting, because you heard of, like, the idea of, like, the king in the mountain.
Yeah.
That is a reference to Chernobog. As well, so that's actually, which is fitting. But yeah, he's meant to be kind of that bridge between Asher's world of real-life mythology and the Disney kind of Final Fantasy-inspired stuff of just make stuff up about the fictional kind of...
Right. I always thought when I was a kid, when I got to Chernobog, I always thought that he was like the leader of the Heartless. Like,
That isn't far off, like, being an idea.
Yeah.
I mean, he could easily be a Heartless for the way he looks. Like, he doesn't look too off from, like, a dark side.
Yeah, like he could have been
like... he's much more difficult.
Yeah, like he could have been like the leader of the Purebloods.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say like I'm disappointed by the fact that he's not that, but I kind of wish they kind of made it in that way.
I'd have to see if after, when you're sort of closer to reading the story, I'll have to show you pictures of some of the characters, because I had a person on Discord make a spreadsheet of kind of like of the looks for the different characters, the original characters. Yeah, and some of them are definitely like, I'll have to see I'll have to make a game of it to see what do you think they look like, apart from Ramiel, because you've already seen Ramiel's picture. And you have to tell me what you think they look like, based on description.
Right. Yeah, I could kind of guess what Ramiel will look like, too, because from the story, he's an angel, but he kind of comes off as kind of a pretty boy, like, player sort of thing, even though he's supposed to be really pure of heart.
Yeah, he's meant to be a fallen angel,
yeah.
Which is interesting. Because one thing I found interesting when researching Ramiel, because I wanted to do a thematic for the different demons, but Ramiel is interesting because in most records, like sort of things, accounts of like the different fallen angels, he's categorized as one of them.
Yeah.
Yet in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and in several Coptic churches in Africa, he's depicted as actually still being aligned with God, essentially. Like,
right.
God, Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever you want, or like you want to, like Allah, you want to address them.
I'm being cheap on Blitzball.
And he's actually even credited as the Angel of Hope. Like specifically, which is a very interesting contrast to how he usually is like depicted elsewhere. I guess recorded elsewhere.
Yeah, it makes sense to include him in a fan fiction that happens after the events of KH3 because, they're kind of all about hope and finding Sora, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting too, because given that he's pretty much probably most like the closest you'll actually, and won't say much about the other angels, that whether or not they'll appear now or later, but one thing I will say is he'll probably be one of the closest to your kind of standard of guardian angel than some of his brethren will be.
Oh, damn it.
Like, he's, like, I mean, the idea of, like, oh, you know, like a serene-looking human with, you know, like, white wings is kind of, like, the closest you'll get with some of it. You know?
Right. I thought fallen angels were supposed to have darkened wings.
See, that's the interesting thing. It's never really clarified. In fact, if you look at a lot of the pictures of the devil, you know how, like, Lucifer, or whatever you want to call it, is depicted as, like, this grody, ugly-looking... whatever the hell, like, you know, the stereotypical kind of red skin, bat wing, leather wings, cloven hooves, and you know, pitchfork. Yet when you look at a lot of what Lucifer is described as being the most beautiful of the angels, which, okay, to be fair, in heaven is probably how, if you look at pictures of biblically accurate angels, is probably not that hard of a thing to accomplish.
Yeah. I like to think that part specifically talking to humans. Like that part would, like if it was written by a god, then that part was specifically for humans, because he would know that the other angels are like really disgusting to humans. So since Lucifer looks so human-like, he's like the most beautiful of all the angels. In kind of a sarcastic tone.
It's like covered in bits and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I mean.
It is weird.
That wouldn't make sense either way.
The story of Lucifer just never resonated with me, because it's always like, you know, he's just an angel, and people say like he's on the level of God, and I'm like, but
like he's second only to God.
Yeah, and I'm like, but then why didn't God just snap him out of existence? And then people are like, will say, well, that would interfere with free will, and it's like, no, it's not.
It was funny, is the idea of whether or not angels have free will is one thing I've always found interesting, because it's like, if they're kind of meant to be perfect, you know, quote-unquote perfect beings, why would they give into stuff like, you know, sin or something?
Yeah.
Like, Lucifer was cast out for his sin of pride, so, of thinking himself equal to God, or God better than him, so...
Yeah. Also, angels aren't, like, specifically any sex or gender, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because some, like, if you look at, for example, the Archangel Gabriel, is depending on who you look to, like, you ask, they're either, either a female angel, like female-looking, in contrast to the more masculine-looking one, or they're straight up a femboy.
Yeah. Which
is honestly a pretty funny idea if you think about just like, it's like, all boys must wear dresses, meanwhile Gabriel just like being themselves, just rocking it.
Boys can't look feminine. Literally believes in a book where some of the angels look really feminine.
Yeah, it's that.
It makes me fun.
Which is it, guys?
Yeah, it makes me laugh whenever I remember that angels have no gender. I'm like, then what was Sodom and Gomorrah about? Because they weren't destroyed because of gay actions. They were destroyed because of lust, right? Like, that would be the most obvious answer.
Yeah, I mean, the angels were just too damn sexy.
Yeah. They were too deceiving.
Yes.
But
yeah, also that story itself is just really screwed up if you think about, you know, those scenes where it's just like, where they have, like, a lot, and he's just kind of like, oh, he's like, oh, please, you know, don't hurt my guests, you know, you don't do anything to them. You can have my daughter. Like, gee, thank you, what a great dad.
Yeah.
This guy is.
Like, that would not fly today.
Yes, like, imagine that the daughters are just standing there, just like, what the hell, Dad? What?
Dude, come on.
Well, I mean, I don't you know the rights of my guests take precedent over the rights of my family? It's that simple.
That only works if your guest is like the king. I like
yeah, it's like, it's really stupid.
Yeah, a lot of the morals of those stories are just weird to think about. Because sometimes they make sense on the surface, and then you read deeper into it, and you're like, I don't think I would ever want to believe this story.
Yeah, it's stuff like that where it does kind of raise a lot of. I do plan to like question it. Like there will be moments where like I will say where the demons kind of have fun by just recounting what is essentially the blooper reel of our world's humans.
Right.
Like, and just kind of gauging the reactions of the characters, just like.
Yeah. In my opinion, God doesn't do anything useful with his God powers. He should have just made the ultimate gaming PC and hid it somewhere in the earth.
The ultimate prize.
Yeah. I had a thought like that, like, if I actually ended up having God powers for a single day, what would I do? And then my first thought was, well, first off, I would just make my computer, like, 60 times more powerful than it already is. And then...
Yeah, that sounds like an admirable goal.
Yeah, and then the second thing I do is make a bag of infinite food that will make me healthy, even though it tastes like chocolate, it will always make me healthy.
Ah, that is true. Very easy.
Like, people kind of use God powers in really boring ways, and I'm like, why not just make something just completely nonsensical?
I mean, have you heard of like the idea of like God making a rock so heavy he can't pick it up?
Yeah, the dichotomy of like being all powerful.
Yeah, which I mean, being God must be utterly boring, but also very frustrating at the same time. To be fair, like the idea is like, for example, say for example, you are a God and you genuinely do want the best for humanity, and you can so and then just humanity just goes around just be the utter idiots that they are. Like, humans can be stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I like to imagine that God just looking at the events right now is just face pumping. It was like, no, this is not how you're supposed to behave, just...
I don't know. I don't subscribe to the belief of a God, but if I were to believe in one, I don't think any of the religious books got it right. I'd say that a God, it doesn't have like infinite power, it has very limited power. And I kind of like the idea that Futurama went with it, like the episode where Bender gets flown into space and he gets an asteroid in his stomach. He becomes a God for a little bit and then he meets the real God.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, like, take on like a type of God that they did in that show. Also, I'm stuttering like an idiot because I'm also trying to not lose to Blitzball while I'm trying to talk about metaphysical stuff.
I know, it's an interesting combo we've got going here.
Yeah, I'm just playing foot soccer basket.
Well, discussing the nature of God, just
disgusting.
Casual stuff.
Yeah, I mean, every other Tuesday.
Of course.
I like discussions like that.
I do tend to kind of mention stuff with God because, to be honest, like, it would be interesting because in Kingdom Hearts, there's no real greater power out there, like, aside from darkness. Kingdom Hearts itself is, like, basically the idea of an afro, like, the idea of, like, all-powerful force, but it's also, like, doubles as an afterlife. It's like this as well, because, when people die in Kingdom Hearts, it's like, oh, they all go, they go to Kingdom Hearts, like, regardless.
Yeah. I had a thought whenever KH3 came out, because I was always kind of thinking that in the back of my mind, like, is Kingdom Hearts ever going to tackle the idea of, like, origin of life or something like that. And after seeing
It's
KH,
basically Genesis.
yeah, and I was thinking like after KH3, you know, spoilers for anyone who sees this later who hasn't played Kingdom Hearts, go do it. It's a fun series. After seeing KH3, you know, Xehanort tries to bring Kingdom Hearts to restart the world. I kind of thought of Kingdom Hearts as like, it's not a thinking entity, and it's kind of like a Big Bang, if you will, like a Big Bang that someone who is worthy can activate, and Xehanort was just not worthy.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a god, but it could feasibly make a new universe.
Yeah.
And
If someone knows how to sort of harness it correctly,
yeah,
or is worthy.
I think Xehanort's first mistake was waiting 80 years.
Yeah, I mean, 80 plus years. I mean, because yeah, I mean, he's like, he had to resort to body snatching to kind of last longer.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. One is as much as I have my flaws with Ericus, him going with Light might have been the better decision physically, because oh my god, like 70-plus-year-old looks pretty good.
Yeah.
As contrast to Xehanort, who's aged horribly.
Yet,
Like,
considering that,
Xehanort looks more like Terranort and Xemnas and Ansem, who are Terra physically,
yeah,
than he does like his actual older self.
that's really interesting to me to think about, because I like how Xehanort's like this. I think he's like 87 or something at the end.
He's in his 80s.
Yeah,
This time.
and yet he moves around like he's a 12-year-old on acid.
That is most of the cast, to be fair.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, you're just kind of zipping around all over the damn place.
it's more impressive with Xehanort because you think if he moved too quickly, he would pop his shoulder out of place, and you'd be like, ah.
Like, you pull something. It's like, who knows? Maybe it's the true power of darkness. Just been able to, like, not have to worry about arthritis or something.
Yeah, it gets rid of all arthritis, carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
I always
I mean,
found
you
it.
have that Palpatine look, but hey, you don't have to worry about the physical side effects of aging.
Yeah,
Like, aside from, like, you know, wrinkly skin and balding.
yeah.
And hey, you get cool yellow eyes out of it too.
I like the idea. It's like, I mean, you could side with light or darkness, but they're only so powerful. They can't stop the wrinkles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I'd go with light because it seems to be the best when it comes to physics. Because at least with Ericus, I can recognize him 100% when he's younger.
Yeah,
Because he pretty much looks the exact same. Give her a bit, like, you know, like, you know, the skunk stripes.
yeah. And the mustache too.
Yeah.
Does he
Also,
have a-
also, I wanted to point out the fact that he's like both of the voice actors of
yeah,
the Ericus and like Xehanort voice actors. Were both voiced a character named Joker.
yeah,
Because Mark Hamill did Joker, and then there's Ben Diskin. Another of his roles was in Fire Emblem Fates, where he voiced a character named Jacob. Jacob's name in Japanese, though, is Joker. So, yeah.
I like when you look at the voice actors, at least in Birth by Sleep, because we don't have Leonard Nimoy anymore, sadly. But
Rest in peace.
indeed. But when you look at the voice actors for Xehanort and then Mark Hamill or Ericus, you see it's like
It's Luke Skywalker and Spock.
Yeah, and it's like, well, they can come together, but the fans can't.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I'm gonna be honest, this is probably a really unpopular opinion, but I can't get into Star Trek or Star Wars.
I got into Star Wars, but I couldn't get For Life Again. Probably because it wasn't as like I don't know. Maybe it's just the kind of more of the premise for me when it came to Star Trek. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, because I really do like sci-fi, but none of them just seem to resonate with me. I think...
Oh, I do plan on bringing Star Wars in at some point, too, because it's now part of the Disney umbrella.
Yeah. Where are they
Because,
going?
I mean...
I really want them to make,
why not?
I want them to put Friday the 1st... I want Disney to buy Friday the 13th, that way we can have a Jason world in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, God. Like, what, we just have a level based on that Friday the 13th game?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the newer one, not the one on the NES.
Oh. Oh, it's like you're playing as Sora and Co, and you have to run away from Jason who's constantly chasing you?
Yeah. It was basically like Dead by Daylight.
That would be mildly terrifying.
I know, and that's the beauty of it.
Although I do like the image in my head that I'm getting of Sora doing an attraction flow ride, and then Jason just like smashing it to pieces, and Sora's like, oh shit.
Yep. Honestly, the Sora is one of the characters I could not imagine swearing. Or at least not that much.
That's why I like I do Audacity things where it's like I take audio and I just mix it together, like basically YouTube poop. And I do that in Audacity, and whenever I make Sora swear, it always sounds so funny, because first off, it's KH1 Sora, which just sounds hilarious in anything he says, and second off, because I just can't imagine Sora saying anything remotely mature.
Oh yeah, he's like... I mean, which is funny, because I'm like, as I was a teenager, I swore.
Yeah.
I swore, I cursed, I cussed, you know, all the different words. But, and then it's, when I see them not sort of, like, not say anything strong, I'm just like, say something, damn it! I want to know that you're regular teenagers.
Yeah.
There's very few teenagers that can claim to be that mean when it comes to their language.
Like, not Sora, Riku and Terra seem like people who would definitely say at least a couple swears.
Axel, definitely.
Yeah.
That could.
Roxas would always say it because of how angry he always is.
Like he's like, no, I mean, to be honest, the way the world kind of treats him, he does kind of have like every right to be as angry as he is.
Yeah, if Kingdom Hearts ever gets the first F-bomb, I think Roxas should be the one to drop it. He's deserved it.
Yeah. I mean, also I want to point out the fact that I mean, the fact that on the topic of with the themes, like aside from a few select characters, most of the character-specific themes are just utterly sad. Like,
yeah.
Aqua's, Ven's, Roxas's,
Riku's.
Like, most of them are just straight, are absolute downers.
And then Sora's is like, I'm going to Disneyland, guys!
It's like, yeah, just like... It's like, are we sure you're from, like, the same... But do you have, like, a favorite among the... Like, if you were to rate your top favorites, which would they be among the character themes?
I think to do top 3, because I haven't admittedly listened to all of them. Like, I haven't listened to Aqua's and...
Now, which ones have you listened to?
Sora's, Riku's, Ventus's, Terra's, and Roxas's.
Oh, wait until you listen to Shion's. That's pretty good. Shion and Naminé, they have ones. Aqua's, I think. In fact, Aqua's actually is, you know, the KH3 fight we did against her?
Yeah.
Like as Anti-Aqua?
Yeah.
That is actually a rearrangement of her theme.
Ooh. I kind of want to hear that now. Because, whenever, you hear Enter the Darkness in Birth by Sleep, you can hear a mixture of Ventus, Sora, and Roxas's themes in that battle theme.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, because Ventus and Vanitas are both like very linked to Sora and Roxas.
Yeah, I do have a chapter later on that does tackle that weird mess of connections.
By the way, I didn't notice this, but we're not even an hour in, and this is already round 6 of 10 of Blitzball. This has been going by a lot faster than I thought it was.
Yeah.
But
when do you want to? How many rounds do you want to get to before you sort of do the book reading?
I was gonna finish off this league in a single stream, which I thought was gonna take probably like an hour and a half, but I don't think it will take that long anymore. I think, honestly, I think doing this league, getting the Jupiter Sigil, going to power up Waka's Celestial Weapon all the way, and then I think that's where the stream will end.
Oh, by the way, on the topic of voice actors, because you brought up that earlier, did you know that, have you ever heard of Fire Emblem Heroes?
Yeah, I have.
Well, they released the new book, book 6.
Yeah.
And that's like a new one, so I'm looking forward to it. So it's like, who knows, maybe it'll actually be really good this time, the story. But one of the main villains in it, his name's Elm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm not joking. But his voice actor in Japanese is the same as Sora's and Vanitas's, actually.
Haley Joel Osment?
No, in Japanese, I said.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
But yeah. So that would be, so that voice actor would be, Miyu Irino. You don't know.
I always thought...
Which is very weird because, the character Elm is like this kind of like femboy vampire dude. Like, character. So...
And then
definitely is like a change.
Then subconsciously you will now associate that with Sora from now on.
I mean, he is a vampire in Halloween Town.
Yeah. I miss Halloween Town. I was hoping that if one Disney World from past games returned in 3, it was going to be Halloween Town.
But no, it was like Hercules.
Yeah. Which that's a little bit fine by me. At least it was like we got new stuff in the Olympus world from that. But I wanted at least one more of the traditionally animated Disney World.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I've seen a lot of people ask when it comes to worlds. Like Princess and the Frog, definitely is one I would want to see canonically happen in.
Yeah, that's
story,
like that's like kind of an unknown movie too, but it was really good.
It was actually the last traditionally animated film released.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
After that, it was like
digital.
It was like it was digital. So it actually has a special place among like Disney's like filmography.
Right. I might see if I could try and find that movie again and watch it because I really want to see that movie. It was actually pretty fun. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I think I watched it in full like years ago.
I was just kind of I just want to. I'll send you like the voice lines for like Elm from Faye, so you can. And let's see how much they. Which probably wouldn't make much sense, given that I'm pretty sure you don't play Kingdom Hearts in Japanese.
No.
But it was something I found that was pretty funny. Now I can't unsee it. Like, I'll send you a picture of Elm later, but honestly, the theme they have for him is really cool. His musical theme, not his physical, like...
Yeah. I was thinking about it last night, because I think we were talking about Final Fantasy characters being in Kingdom Hearts, and I remember Regular Pat on his YouTube channel, he was talking about how Orin in Olympus was probably one of the best ways to implement Final Fantasy into Kingdom Hearts, because it makes sense. He ends up in the far plane afterwards, and then Hades drags him back from the dead. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
story-wise.
Another character I'm surprised in the underworld is Vincent Valentine.
Yeah.
given the fact that he's, you know, a vampire, that makes sense. That would kind of make that or Halloween Town would make the most sense.
Right.
But yeah, just imagine all these stop motion characters in like Halloween Town, and then there's just edgy kind of vamp boy. Alucard's younger brother.
I'm Sora. Meanwhile, Jack's just like, don't bite my arm off, you could do it very easily.
Well, I mean, he's a skeleton. I'm pretty sure that vampires wouldn't be attracted to bones.
I'm imagining Jack as Clay, though, so Jack, like, acknowledges that Sora is a completely different, like, form of matter than he is.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Jack is
well, speaking of the topic, can we just bring up the thing with Santa?
Yeah,
and we were talking about, like, you know, asshole, but, you know, can we just bring that Santa's kind of sex?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the belief in him, like, you know, the lack of belief in him is just enough to, like, put you on the naughty list. It's like, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's like,
I like how parents will say, like, if you're bad this year, Santa will give you coal. And, like, as a kid, you're like, no, I don't want coal. And then as you grow up, you're like, actually, that's a really good thing.
because it's not going, like, because it's, like, refuel.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it kills the planet, but, so...
That's true. But if you're like an engineer or something, and you have like this like a powerful compressing machine, you could just turn into a diamond.
Also, if you think about the promotions when it comes to like Christmas, like the idea of Krampus is more durable.
Right.
Because I mean, depending on tradition, that is a character that will literally drag children to hell. So.
Yeah, I saw the horror movie based on that.
Within an inch of their lives.
I saw the horror movie about that with my friends, and there was like nobody else in the theater at the time, which I think was probably the only second time in my entire life I've ever been in a movie theater alone. But
that was empty.
Yeah, and I think Krampus was actually a really good movie. At least on the big screen, maybe. Maybe it's not that great whenever you actually have it on DVD. But on the big screen, it was definitely fun.
I've heard it's a really good movie.
Yeah, it's an interesting movie because there's not really that much horror movies based around Christmas time.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of few that are take place during Christmas, but aren't really Christmas themed. Like, for example, I'm trying to think of like the first ever slasher, I guess you could say, where it was like,
yeah.
Well, Black Christmas, took place during Christmas, but it wasn't really necessarily... You could set it at any time, other time of the year, and it would still work.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we could classify Home Alone as a semi-horror Christmas thing.
I mean, also, on the topic, I mean, it's kind of weird how we're talking about Christmas now.
Yeah.
Just after it, but another movie that never stood, that could kind of work as like a movie without the Christmas elements is Die Hard.
Yeah.
Like the idea of Die Hard's my favorite Christmas.
Yeah, like it has no relation to Christmas. It just came out close to Christmas time.
Yeah.
Which I mean, if that's enough to be classified as a Christmas movie, then I guess it would be a good Christmas movie.
Yeah. God, I find it kind of funny how all of our talks are just full, or talks are all just full of damn quickly. It started off with talking about the story, and then it just went into like existentialism, and now it's talking about Christmas movies.
Yeah, and we've acknowledged Blitzball probably like 3 minutes out of the 59.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, that's kind of what I was going for.
But yeah, do you have any questions whatsoever? Like, at all? Like,
not as of right now, because right now, it's like the startup, it's the build-up before everything kind of just goes to shit, so nothing's really that.
Why don't you talk about stuff that you've liked so far?
Okay.
Stuff that you Stuff you like, stuff that think that could use a bit of work.
I like that. I know this is gonna sound really psychopathic at first, but I like how Asher attacked Evan when he first woke up.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Evan has got the most welcoming face ever.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen the.
Like, he looks perpetually, especially in his Vex persona, looks absolutely emaciated.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be the first goal on me.
Looks like he needs a good night's sleep.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the second Crash GBA game. I don't remember what it's called, but there's the main enemy of that game. He's like this big egg guy. And one of the things about him is that whenever he looks at the camera, one eye is really big, and he like kind of has this mad scientist look to him.
Crazy eyes.
Yeah, I imagine that's just what Evan looks like all the time, but not like an egg.
I mean, yeah, he's also got that high-pitched voice. Higher pitch. Like,
Yeah.
We're on a bridge series, and we're thinking that maybe we're doing a bridge series for the Kingdom Hearts games on another server in Discord. And we were talking, and I was just, and one of the other members was saying, we should make him sound like Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. and we're like, yeah, that works. Let's do it.
Imagine like this big, like dramatic build up in Chain of Memories, like before you first see him, and like when Sora first encounters him or something, and then he turns around, he's like, Sora the teenager.
I mean, it definitely would work. It definitely would work.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, I probably piss off a lot. It's such as the price of art.
Yeah.
But you must wet your pants whenever something funny happens.
I'd be interested if Nomura ever went into detail on how he makes the vessels, like the replicas. Like, if Nomura ever wanted to try and delve into that, I'd be really interested in learning.
Yeah, one thing I've always kind of wondered to myself is, this probably won't be mentioned as much in the story, but see that what are the physical capabilities of, like, replicas in, other ways, like, outside of just acting as, like, like a flesh suit.
Yeah.
They do,
Yeah. Insert the knowledge of Kung Fu into their brain and then they can perform it or something.
That stuff, but also wonders, like, are they able to, like, do they have to use the washroom? Can they actually, do they just eat stuff properly? Are replica bodies as capable of, adult stuff, like regular, regular humans.
Yeah, like
it's definitely a wonder. Like, it's weird stuff. Like, I mean, I know it's weird stuff to wonder about, but it's like
I mean, that's what Kingdom Hearts is all about, though. It's that weirdness. Makes you think.
It definitely is, like, it does kind of bring a lot into question.
Yeah.
Like, you're meant to question stuff in this series, like, you're not supposed to take everything at face value.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the idea of, like, nobodies don't have a heart, and they can never have it. It's like, well, they're clearly able to.
Yeah.
Like, even Heartless were able to develop their own hearts.
Yeah.
Despite them being made of hearts, giving into darkness. But,
You heartless idiot. No, I have a heart. He doesn't, points to Ansem.
Yeah, it's just,
I found that one to be weird, but it would also kind of make sense if the leader of all Heartless had a heart, but like he was like just complete darkness. Like, it would make sense to a degree, but I don't think you could just classify him as a Heartless then.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
There's definitely a lot of questions when it comes to the series.
Yeah. Like, one of the things that you're supposed to question within the games is... Oh, I'm probably gonna take one more hit. But one of the things you question in the games, and like in Birth by Sleep, you know, whenever you play through Terra's story, one of the things that you're supposed to question is like, okay, Xehanort looks like a bad guy, but is he like deceiving you, or is Nomura trying to pull a fast one on us? And
he turns out to be just as evil as he looks.
Yeah.
I mean, more evil than that, because he ends up, you know, stealing Terra's body.
Yeah. And then slashing Kairi in the back, and then doing all that stuff.
I do plan on fixing Kairi's issues. Literally, like, story issues, because honestly, okay, I don't want to really kick a man when he's down, but like, Nomura does not know how to really, outside of Aqua, he doesn't really know how to really work with his female characters.
I would say definitely not the good ones. Like, Marcine was kind of alright, but then again, she only showed up for like one game or two.
Yeah, I mean, that is very true. Well, I mean, 3 if you count Elrena.
Oh, right, yeah. But, yeah, I would say definitely the protagonist, women, he doesn't know how to write too well.
Yeah.
And I can kind of see maybe why. Maybe he doesn't want to fall into like stereotypes or tropes or anything.
Which he did, ironically, he made all of them kind of the same better being generic.
I mean, technically when you think about it, 3 of the 4 women in Kingdom Hearts are actually just different versions of the same person.
Yeah, that is very true. Like, I mean, they're like, yeah, because Naminé is the nobody of Kairi, and Xion is... Xion's interesting, because she's meant to be a clone of Sora, but she's based off of his memories of Kairi, so...
Yeah, she's like the bastard
She's technically transgender Sora, too.
Yeah. I like how this monk guy is the only person who's really been kicking my ass in Blitzball.
Don't underestimate the holy man.
I agree. He should not be able to swim in those rows, but, you know, maybe his legs are just like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's body.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson instead of The Rock or Dwayne, because everybody knows who he is. I don't have to specify his entire legal name.
I mean, you smell what The Rock is good at.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's...
Alright, one more eject shot. Eject shot. That was really stupid.
Oh, it's monk guy again.
Yeah. I think, if I remember correctly, I think he actually has one of the higher speed stats, because most people in Blitzball have a speed of 60, and I think he's one of the few players that actually goes above 60 by a couple points, so that's probably why he was able to catch up.
Yeah. But yeah, also, I just like the fact that Tidus is just somehow like on the Destiny Islands, and it's just like a version of him.
Yeah, he's on Destiny Islands, he also like aged down a couple years.
Yeah, that's what disappearing from reality.
I guess it's the price he had to pay for coming back so soon.
It's like, oh yeah, we could bring you back, but you're not legally able to bring you.
The Faith are like, Yuna's not done with 10-2 yet, but I mean, if you want to come back, you gotta pay the price.
Yeah. But honestly, speaking of age, I always kind of find it weird how, like, vague the timeline is in terms of, like, not so much, like, when things, like, the order of the games, but more so about, like, what amount of time has passed, because, it's like, as I always wonder, is Sora, like, 15, 16? I know he's definitely canonically, like, canon that he was 14 when he first started his adventures, and he was 4 when he first met Aqua and Terra. Like Aqua and Terra.
Yeah.
And then he let Ven into his heart. But, like, what's this time frame between, like, the event? And there was a year that passed from Chain of Memories to the events of 2. Like, we knew what happens in that time.
Yeah.
Because of
Days.
of days. But then it's also like, what was the time frame, the passing between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3? And everything that happened in between that. Like, the games that happened between.
Yeah, it was 3D.
Like, that's a big question mark.
Yeah, because it was 3D, which then it was recoded.
Yeah, the recoded in 3D were the games that took place in, and also Fragmentary Passage.
Right.
Which is very weird in terms of that, because it's like before, because it is before the events of 1, because we see the lead up to that scene with the door to Kingdom Hearts, and then but then there's also the event where it shows, I think it was Sora getting his new clothes. Or I could be wrong, my memory's a bit fuzzy here.
I know Fragmentary Passage explains how the Heartless didn't just encapsulate Mickey and he was able to help Sora close the door. So I know.
And it also explains why he was shirtless.
Yeah, it explains why he was iconic Mickey and not Kingdom Hearts Mickey.
Yeah. Michael Rodent.
Michael Rodent. I love that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean...
I love when people just refer to him as that. I know one thing for sure, though. I know that Sora's still 15 in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, he's the shortest 15-year-old I've seen. Like, I think someone did the check of his height, and he's 5'2". Like, I was taller at 15 than I was than him. And then again, I've got the help of, like, tall genes in my family, but still, I know 15-year-olds most 15-year-olds are taller than that.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's some people around that, but it's typically a thing, like, with, like, women, I think, female humans that are around that height, but still, that's kind of impressive how small he is.
If you look at how skinny his arms and like legs are in Kingdom Hearts 2, you could technically define him as lanky.
Yeah, he definitely is. Like, lanky is the best way to kind of describe him. Yeah. Like, the Beyond, though, to be fair, like, out of 15, he's done more in like the span of 2 years than I have done. In 22, so like 21. So. Yeah. I feel like. What am I to kind of say? I feel like that's like a joke that they brought up in KH3 where Mickey says to Riku, "You've done years of growing in no time at all." I'm like, yeah, you could say that again. I mean, yeah, and also that many changes of wardrobe. It's like, seriously, that you pick a style to go with. Yeah, it's weird how Sora and Riku can change their hairstyles, their wardrobes, their facial complexions, and barely change the year of their age. That's almost impressive. Yeah. If it weren't so confusing. Maybe they're actually just Victoria's Secret models. To be honest, for their sake, I hope they aren't. If they are, they're one of the beefiest types. Yeah, they wouldn't be allowed. Yeah, I do find it kind of funny though. It's just like, I remembered seeing a post that was talking about Sora's hair. You know, he has those hair spikes, like on the sides of his head. How they seem to keep going, like moving upward, pointing upwards every game. Yeah. And I remembered seeing a post that basically point out how they look kind of like cat ears. And how the next game he's pretty much look like a cat boy by the next game. Which, let's be honest, like, I would not be surprised by, given the fact that how heavily associated he is with cats. Yeah. Like, I mean, his monster form is like in Monsters Inc. That was based heavily off of a cat. He was a lion, and I mean, even heck, even his original design had heavy lion like elements to it, with the ears and the tail. Yeah. Before they obviously changed it. Yeah.
Sora was like the smallest lion cub ever in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah. Imagine he goes. Like, I mean, he goes back and Simba. Like, imagine if he went for like Simba's pride. You know, like he went for the events of that, and then Simba's like, "Wait, how come you haven't aged? Like, I mean, I've had a kid in this amount of time. How have you not physically aged at all?"
Sora's
He's just still a cub.
Sora's like, I have to break it to you, Simba. There's other worlds. And Simba's like, okay, that doesn't explain why you don't age.
He's secretly immortal.
Maybe the reason why he doesn't age is because time works differently in all the worlds, so time can't keep up with him.
I do plan on making that an element of the story a bit, but I won't go into details. But yeah, I do think it would explain a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's weird thing about too, like, imagine if it was a Star Wars world in Kingdom Hearts. Star Wars is all about being in a galaxy far, far away, which means it's always taking place in basically just in space. How do you put space inside of space in Kingdom Hearts?
Well, I mean, let's not question things. I mean, they put a literal whale into space.
That's true.
In one, so we can't really question the logic of space in the universe.
Yeah,
and also the fact that the labeling process of this world, of these worlds, like, imagine how many places called Earth there must be, and how you have to differentiate between them.
Yeah, Earth 17B, Earth 17A.
Like, I remembered reading a fan fiction that was on AO3, and they brought up the fact how they were saying, like, I guess it was one where they were looking for certain characters in like a world of Paris.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, we just, and then Mickey's just like, and Rico's like, oh, we just have to find, we have to track them down. We at least know the name of it. That should be easy. And then Mickey's like, but there's a lot of worlds called Paris. It seems to be a very popular name. But because that would, like, which is why I kind of appreciate them coming up with actually their own unique names to differentiate them. How this works.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept. I like to think in my headcanon that, that part in Remind, whenever Sora does like the thing with the keyholes in the space and he's like linking all the worlds together.
Yeah.
I like to imagine in my headcanon that Deep Jungle's somewhere in there.
I mean, we wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like. But I wonder if we could see any more Winnie the Pooh in the future now that it's public domain. That the property is public domain now.
I really wish we could get more Tarzan, because I do like Tarzan. I think he's an interesting character. That is the second time I've exited Blitzball.
We have to bring it up with the original author's estate then, because they have control now.
Yeah.
Disney no longer has the control, so if it's not something that's exclusive to them, they have no interest.
Yeah. I was really hoping that one of the 13 Darknesses in Kingdom Hearts 3 would actually just be Edgar Allan Rice Burroughs.
Yeah, he's coming back from the dead.
Yeah. He was just one of the 13 Darknesses. He was their 13th.
Yeah.
I mean, Xehanort's evil enough to bring copyright law into war.
I mean, that is very true. He's an evil scumbag. I mean, and imagine this, stealing people's bodies is treated as the lesser of two evils compared to that, what you just described.
Yeah. I kind of wonder, though, because whenever he stole Terra's body, Terra was able to stay around. And Xehanort mentioned something like, oh, so you're still here. So I wonder if whenever you steal a person's body in the Kingdom Hearts universe, if that person is just, like, forever gone, or maybe they go to, like, the final world or something.
Well, or, I mean, we do know where Terra's heart went, and that was in the Guardian.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it's also, again, very messed up.
Yeah. That one can make sense to a degree if you think about it as Terra's heart was just too strong to vanish from the world, or if Xehanort...
yeah, Lingering Well is
a
good example of how stubborn he is. Like, that he's able to cheat essentially death.
Yeah.
By basically his armor type, right? Like, basically gaining sentience and basically beating the crap out of his body.
Yeah. And also it can make sense if you think about it as Xehanort's like, well, I mean, I can control you because you let darkness take control over you one time too many, so I might as well just put your heart into something that I can use to back me up.
Yeah, which... Yeah, again, it's really weird. It's really fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts for kids, and then all this... It's like, it's weird. Like, it's weird how many things are just kind of for kids, and then you look at it when you're through a lens when you're older, and like, oh my god, this is really messed up. How is this meant for kids?
That's why I don't like when people, like, whenever you criticize something and people say, well, it's for kids, and it's like, well, yeah, there's many things that are for kids, but there are also things that are for kids that just don't have very good things in them. Like, in The Amazing World of Gumball, there are so many adult jokes in there, it makes it so funny going back to it when you've grown up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that SC Crab Secret, like, that was adult-oriented. Like, I remember, did you ever watch the show Justice League? It was by the same people that did, like, the Batman the Animated Series.
No, I haven't.
And there's a, it's a really good show. You should watch it.
I heard it was really good.
It really holds up. And it actually is a show that actually had... The guy who plays Lex Luthor is the same guy who voices Mr. Krabs, and it's funny to look back at it when you're older and learning this. And
oh yeah, I know about this because I was searching him up last night because he also does the voice of Neo Cortex for Crash.
Yeah, it's a funny thing to think about, so...
Yeah, I
so
found
Lex
that
Luthor is
interesting.
basically the fusion of Mr. Krabs and Neo Cortex. Because, I mean... because he has the money hungry aspect of Mr. Crab and the evil scientist aspects of Neocortex.
Yeah. I love Cortex. Like, I love the voice they put on for Cortex. It's so comically evil, but at the same time, it's so, like, kind of...
Goofy?
Yeah. I was gonna say ditzy, but I'm like, that's not really the word, but goofy would definitely be more the word.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it is. Yeah, it definitely is like an interesting thing to consider.
I love that guy. He can do a wide variety of different voice types, because you would never think that Cortex, Crash, and Lex Luthor, Cortex, Mr. Krabs, and Lex Luthor are all voiced by the same guy.
What about Xander Mobus?
Huh?
He's got Xander Mobus, you know, the guy who does both Joker from Persona 5, and he also did the voice of Master Hand, or Crazy Hand. And the announcer. He's all of those guys.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know Crazy Hand had a voice. I mean, I know he has like a laugh or anything, but I didn't know.
I mean, you'd have to record someone to do those.
Right. Just a disembodied laugh that someone recorded one time, and they're like, I don't know where it came from, but I mean, we'll put it in. I always thought Master Hand and Crazy Hand were original creations of Smash, but no, apparently they're from Kirby.
What? Really?
Yeah, I think so, because I think there's a enemy that is exactly like Master Hand.
Of course Sakurai shows favoritism to his children.
I mean, Kirby's a really fun series. I would show favoritism too.
Yeah. Though then again, I guess it's kind of selective how much people tolerate that favoritism, because Sakurai's also a fan of the Fire Emblem series, and, well, we know how that's gone over with the Smash community. I mean, personally, I like Fire Emblem. Do I think they have a bit too many reps? Yes, but I don't think it's... At least they're unique for the most part. For more than you think.
Yeah. It really puts into perspective how much Fire Emblem games there are, though, because Because maybe someone who played like a couple of them wouldn't know that there was actually more than 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because
I
Fire Emblem to me just seems like one of those series where it's like it would come out in America as a couple games and you would play them when you're younger, and then you'd grow up to realize, yeah, there's not 2 games, there's actually like 7, and you're like, what?
There's a total of I think 16 main games.
Damn.
And that's a mixture. Still, to be fair, 3 of those are remakes.
Right.
But still, that's an impressive amount for a series that basically went under the radar and nearly almost died in like the early 2010s. If it were, I know it's probably a common thing to say, but if it weren't for the success of Awakening, then the series would have been like gone the route of F-Zero.
Yeah. That's a sad thought. Poor F-Zero.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think that Smash actually adds a lot more characters from series that are like not so known.
Then again, it also kind of goes to show the toxic mentality of specifically in Japan of like properties. Mm-hmm. Because if it doesn't do well, you don't necessarily go back and say, "Oh, what did we do wrong?" Rather, it's like, "Oh, it didn't do well. Let's shelve it."
Yeah.
And until somebody remembers we have this. Like, Street Fighter had that as a good example. Like after the weirdness that is Street Fighter 3, which is now a cult classic today, the series basically remained dormant until it was picked up and revived in the late 2000s.
I didn't realize it was such a hiatus from 3 to 4.
Yeah, it was that for that long.
Damn. I can't. There's a game that I don't know if you've heard of, but it's a D&D based game. It's in the Forgotten Realms kind of thing, and it's called Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance.
I've heard of Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, this is
not a series I pick up, but you know.
This is a subset series of it. So it's it still has the Baldur's Gate name, but it's called Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. So it's like a top-down set 3D RPG sort of thing with D&D aspects in it. And it went for 2 games. And at the end of the second game, it leaves on a big cliffhanger. But the company that made it originally, they went bankrupt, and now, who knows who owns the IP to that now?
Yeah.
But actually,
it's sad how those things can happen.
Yeah, I've learned later, really late last year, that the first Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance game actually has a remaster on PS4 now. So that kind of gives me hope.
Another game actually that would have been interesting had it come out, because I'm sure at this point of time you are at least somewhat familiar with the Nier series of games.
Yeah.
Originally it's basically a spin-off of another series, Drakengard. Mm-hmm. Now the idea was interesting because Drakengard was a game that had multiple endings, each with a different. Because see, there was originally 2 sequels to it. Drakengard 2, which takes place after the a variant of the A ending of the original.
Right.
And then Nier, which takes place after the E ending of that game. But there was originally meant to be a 3rd game that was developed which would take place after the C ending, called Cryon. Except there's even a trailer for it that you can find on IGN, on the IGN channel. It's only there. But the thing is, it never, outside of that trailer, it never really took off. Right. Because the studio that made it, Kavia, ended up being dissolved.
That sucks.
Watch where. Yeah.
There's also cases that are really stupid where it's a game does well and the company that made it did really well, and I'm probably gonna get ball stall, but the company does well and then their parent company just shuts them down. EA did that with a couple of their companies.
Yes. Yeah, EA.
I don't remember which ones EA shut down, but I remember, like, there were companies
Well,
that
to be
made...
fair, that's not surprising given how much EA loves to execute its different developer divisions.
Yeah. They love to make the worst possible decisions a company can make, and I think I have a headcanon that they're just making really bad decisions to see how long it'll take for them to go under. And surprisingly, they've lasted longer than they should have.
It's because of like the sports, and also the strategies of like using microtransactions.
Yeah. I think Battlefront 2, the company that made that, was probably one of the ones EA shut down.
DICE?
I think so. I might be wrong on that though.
No, DICE was the ones that did like Battlefront. You know, the modern one.
Yeah. I know, I think Blizzard also partook in that, like shutting down.
Yeah, Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
On top of, I mean, I'm not, you know, it sucks too, though, I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's kind of a shell of its former self, especially given what we've heard about the frat boy culture. Honestly, even frat boys are more put together than... Like, you know you're in the wrong if you have a room dedicated to Bill Cosby.
Yeah. Like having a poster of like Fat Albert or something. There's like
but
one
specifically
thing.
Bill Cosby. Like,
yeah. Like he's a good comedian, but it's like everything now is just tainted with him in it because of what came out. Like it really sucks, but like I would not dedicate a whole room to that, to like anybody who's been alligated like that. Because it kind of makes you look bad if you were to do that.
Which honestly, given the fact that they're like of their behavior, especially towards women in the workplace, was like, yeah, that's kind of like that's expected at that point.
Yeah,
especially given their double standard, like when the allegations against Quentin Flynn came out, you know, the voice actor of characters like, you know, Axel and Raiden.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out seems that they aren't true, the allegations, which...
Right.
It was kind of like a Vic Mignogna situation.
Yeah.
But it's like... Whereas it was only like one kind of thing, and there's only one thing I think that could be interpreted as such, but it's only one-time thing, it's, you know, or we can tell.
Yeah.
That was like a mistake, you know. But... they are constantly doing that behavior all the time. On purpose. It's like kind of not like on purpose. Like it's like it's like that is like the biggest case of double standard ever.
Like there's being oblivious and then there's just being an asshole.
Yeah, and do you know what's the worst part? Because the original creators of Activision seem to be generally good people, as far as I can tell. And the guy who's in charge, and they must be like, and they left before all this kind of happened.
Yeah.
Way before. And so and they're still alive, obviously. But I can only imagine how it must feel to look at your company and see what an utter mess it is. Like, most people at least have the kind of, at least the privilege to be dead before their legacy crumbles.
Yeah.
But to be alive to see that, it's gotta be on a whole nother level. Sad.
Yeah. And it really angers me too, because Activision and Activision Blizzard, they perpetuate, well, not perpetuate, but they're a big company, so whenever an allegation like that comes out, that gives people like fuel to say like, see, the gaming world really does hate women and people like that. And it's just like, well, that's one example, and they are a shit company. But it's like, not all companies are like that. Like we don't know the inner workings of every single gaming company, but I mean, Activision, I wouldn't be surprised if EA was like that too in their office. Like, they treat their customers
I
like
wouldn't be entirely
shit.
surprised.
Yeah, they treat their customers like shit. I wouldn't be surprised if they treat their employees like that too. It's
Yeah,
just,
also, let's also not forget the fact of, like, Activision's politics.
uh-huh.
Yeah, with them basically by basically backing the Chinese government with over Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
To be fair, that's how a lot of things businesses do, and it's really hard to get rid of that mentality.
It's weird how it's like oh, we should keep like religion, like, you know, like our personal opinions out of politics, and then it's like politics are out of like business or yada yada, and it's like see all this stuff like happening. It's like
we should keep
like
politics.
you're basically backing the wrong side in this. Like if
yeah.
it's one of the few scenarios where I'd say if a former British colony was better under the British than it is being part of the original territory. Like,
yeah.
you know?
I like how people are like, yeah, don't put politics in gaming, and then meanwhile they'll say at the other side of their mouth, oh yeah, China's pretty cool.
Yeah. And also the fact is, like, media at its core is basically, it can be very political.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of games that do delve into politics and sort of the nature of the human condition or stuff like that, and it's like,
yeah.
and they also complain about like, oh, there's too many gay characters, or yada yada, it's like, or something that, or it's too many people of color, or it's like the whole debacle. Did you hear about the thing with like John Kent, like the son of Superman, being like in his thing that he's
like he's bisexual? Yeah.
And people were complaining about that, which granted partly came from ignorance because they thought they were talking about his dad, Clark, like Clark Kent, Superman. So, which I'll admit, it did lead to a lot of hilarity because people say, oh, Superman kisses Lois Lane and stuff like that. Led to a lot of people pointing out that would be incest you're kind of preaching, because it's like, this is a different Superman.
Yeah.
But again, it was like kind of like, though my favorite one has to be this one American politician, how she was pointing like, oh, like trying to say, oh, Clark Kent is always with like Lois Lane and yada yada and stuff like that.
Yeah. Except
she ended up spelling like Lois's name wrong, because you know how you spell Lois is Lois.
Yeah.
You should look at this later. The way she spelled it was Louis. So Clark and Lewis, like, or Louis. So that's, which is a guy's name.
I would, if it came out that she was actually just trolling people, like bigots, if she was just trolling bigots with that statement, that would be like the most clever thing ever. But I highly doubt it.
But unfortunately, she's serious.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's unfortunate, but...
Oh look, the education system failed another person.
Oh, why do you know?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with stuff like that in games, like gay characters, like people of color.
Unless it's offensive.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, not like in a funny way, but more just like, no, you're just being...
Yeah, like people have different levels of what's offensive. Like, some people might think a really flamboyant gay guy could be offensive, whereas other people won't. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Schitt's Creek, but there's a character on there whose name is David, and he's
very flamboyant.
Yeah, he's extremely flamboyant. It's almost to the point of parody sometimes. But in real life, he is exactly like that. So he's not playing a character; he's basically playing himself in a way. But
I guess it's the way how it can sort of be played, I guess. I don't know, like how, if it combined with other more negative stereotypes, like the idea of like you're less like a man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing I never forget, like the idea of like strict kind of fashions, and like how, if I can give a good example, then I hope this is anything removed or whatnot, but Candace Owens, you know how she was complaining about Harry Styles in a dress?
Yeah.
In a skirt? And she was like, oh, well, I can't be voice, like, oh, like, just being an utter, like, ass about it. And then people point out, well, Candace, you wear suit jacket, like, you wear suits all the, like, a lot of the time. So you're not one to talk about what the gender, like, what is appropriate for the genders.
Yeah. Yeah, Candace Owens is an unfortunate case.
She's basically an Uncle Tom. A variant of the Uncle Tom.
Yeah. She's basically the mouthpiece for the Republican side, so they're like, see, we're not entirely bigoted.
You've got a black woman.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's stuff like that, I think, that kind of makes me wonder what these people, like you get your Candace Owens, and you got, like, kind of, for whatever group it is, whether it's, like, for queer people, or for, like, Jewish people or something, like, Prager, like, Dennis Prager, you know how much he talks about,
Yes.
like, the war on Christmas and stuff like that. For the longest time, I did not know he was Jewish.
Yeah.
I was like, wait. It's like, I'm like, wait, what? He's Jewish? So why does he talk so much about, like, all this kind of stuff? It's like...
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's like he's... I mean, it's like weird. It's like to think about, because I thought he was Christian. Like some kind of, like a fundy, or like a fundamentalist kind of evangelical, or something of that.
Yeah. And then when you find out that he's Jewish, it makes sense why he always brings up Judeo-Christian instead of just Christian in his videos.
Which is weird, because it doesn't really go over actually anything related to Judaism.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a way to say, see, we don't hate the Jews, we just don't, like, we're using your values that we totally made up.
Yeah. We're using
Which
your
is
values.
like, I'm Jewish, and I've thought this stuff I have never heard of. It's like bizarre.
Yeah, that stuff is weird, because I always thought he was a Christian, too.
Yeah, it's like...
I'm pretty sure his university is like a fraudulent one. I don't know.
You know, they're trying to start a petition to have these things played in classrooms, right?
I didn't
In
know
the States.
that. I can see that being played in Texas classrooms, though, but I didn't know they were trying to do that.
They're trying to make it, like, mandatory, like, that they can be presented as, like, fact, when in reality, well... You know.
Yeah. I love the Dennis Prager video about how you can't ultimately be a good person if you're an atheist. I'm like, hey, buddy, how many people has your religion killed? And how many people has the religion that you're trying to defend killed? Yeah, get back in line, buddy.
Yeah, like, my god. Like, that just angers me. Like, it's the fact, and also the fact that how they try to say, oh, like, the gays are just a bunch of...
Yeah.
Or like kitty fiddlers, and then you look at stuff like the Catholic Church, or a lot of these different kind of denominations, and they have far more issues with that than the queer community has ever had.
Yeah.
In modern history. Like, it's like...
Yeah,
at that point, it's just projection.
Yeah, it's literally the definition of miscarriage of justice.
Mm-hmm.
They're very hypocritical people. At dinners.
And don't worry, I plan to tear into them, and I'm debating whether or not to include Frollo, just so I can have the main character point out that, you know, we have a lot of guys like you in real life. You know, just these kind of, like, creatures that kind of talk the talk, but absolutely don't walk the walk.
Yeah.
Which would be cathartic, honestly, just to kind of write that stuff down.
Yeah. I hope y'all mind a little bit, but I'm gonna do like a little bit of grinding here because I actually do need to.
Sure. Just let me know when you're ready to read, and then we'll be good to go.
Alright. Do you want to do the reading like on stream, or do you want to like end the stream and do that or something?
Yeah, it's just stream. I mean, did you want to read it yourself, or kind of?
I was already thinking about doing it like as you were saying, like a live reading, but I didn't know if you were talking about like during the stream or after the stream, but still in the Discord call.
I mean, we could do either. Which one? It depends on what you prefer. I mean, I've got loads of time right now.
I guess we could inflate the stream for longer and do it on stream. I think it'd be fun.
I mean, I've got a lot of chapters. Who knows? Maybe we can do 2 or something. I wouldn't mind like that.
Yeah, and you can criticize my very terrible reading skills.
Also, did you want to know one thing about interesting, like about one thing I'll bring about Asher is that it's kind of a little played into a bit later, but he's actually French Canadian.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, I mean, his name is obviously very Jewish sounding. It's very Jewish sounding. But it's definitely not French sounding, but he is on his mom's side from Quebecois.
Okay.
And his mom's side of the heritage, and it does play a lot into his usage of language. Like, he can talk with a perfect English, like a perfect accent, but Canadian.
Right.
Like Canadian, like, but when it comes, but he does use a lot of French.
Has he spoken French at all between the two chapters after the prologue?
It's a bit. I can't remember. I have to double check because it's been a while since I've kind of looked at them. I've kind of gone through them in depth.
Also, I was curious. I didn't think about it until now, but what was that? What's that language that Asher speaks in when he's using the dagger?
Hebrew. It's Hebrew.
I kind of thought it was gonna be that way whenever I was reading it, and then whenever you said that.
It's meant to be read right to left.
Right.
And also, that's how it's done because it's like a Semitic language. So a lot of languages in the Middle East are right to left.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Aramaic languages are also like that.
Yeah, I mean, Aramaic and Hebrew have, like, modern Hebrew have, like, the same roots.
I guess that makes sense, because that's kind of the part of the world where people started forming societies in early human history.
Yeah, because, I mean... Yeah, it definitely was like the cradle of civilization over there.
Yeah. You know, going back to what you just said made me think of something. How do you know who Kent Hovind is?
Kent Hogan?
Kent Hovind.
No, I have not.
He is a Christian young Earth creationist. And he does a lot of...
This would be interesting.
Yeah, he does a lot of seminars and stuff and debates with people. And he's one of those types of people who... He has been told numerous times how stuff works, but he'll always say that's not how it is, and he'll always stick to his talking points.
So he's an idiot.
Yeah. And there was one video he did where he made fun of the fact that people, like scientists, don't know what they're talking about with the fossil record. And he said, because he was talking about the Grand Canyon, and he said, how could water do this over millions of years? I think it makes more sense that a global flood would do this. And I'm like, well, a global flood would just take the entire area and limit it down to the same level.
Yeah, so...
Like that's...
Yeah, definitely would.
Yeah.
He seemed like a few candles short of like a... He seems like a few bulbs short of like a...
Oh, fluorescent.
Yeah, just...
He's one of those mercury bulbs that's full of way too much mercury.
Well, and we know how poisonous mercury can be, so...
Yeah.
You know.
I think that might be one of the least believable stories of every religious text is the Great Flood. Because there was a gigantic flood in history, but it was never worldwide. Because that would just be impossible.
Yeah, I mean, it also just baffles me sometimes. Like, I mean, like I said, I do believe that there's a God and stuff like yeah. Do I think it's all literal? No. It's like, a lot of it is figurative, and also if you were to take the test, like the, you know, all these things at face value, then it's like, well, like a lot of stuff would contradict each other. Also, there's a lot of stuff that people do in modern day anyway that would be punishable by all these different kind of things. If you still, like, the mixing of fabrics.
Yeah.
That's not something you're supposed to do, yet, you know.
Yeah, most things are polyester to some degree. Which
and
is
then it's like it's like a very much like a pick and choose
yeah.
scenario.
Part of me really wants to think, like, whenever you read all those weird rules, like, don't mix fabrics, don't eat seafood, specifically shrimp, I think it is. And
there's actually health reasons why. Because back then, a lot of these foods would go off a lot faster. And there's more things connected to this, like more health issues that were connected to these sorts of things.
Right. But I like the idea that it's like someone knew that it was all just like bull, and that people of the future wouldn't read it. I like to think that someone just knew what was going to happen ahead of time, so he put all these conflicting rules in there.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah.
It's the lulz.
And then he could point to the section of the book where it says to not do that, to try and rule out the true and the fake believers.
Yeah.
I could see people being that petty back in the day. I mean, people were petty about a lot more stuff than we probably are now.
in one of the books of the Bible, like God, like there's one prophet who gets mocked for his baldness by a group of kids.
Yeah, he summons bears.
And then God sends and then he basically gets so salty about it that he basically asks God to send backup for him. And God sends a pack of bears, like a bunch of bears, to kill these kids. It's like Muslim. It's like, jeez, like they just were making fun of your bald patch. It's like, that's a bit excessive.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't want to be made fun of for being bald, but I mean, male pattern baldness is a thing.
Disproportionate retribution.
Yeah. I can't really put a stop to people making fun of it. People will make fun of you for anything, though, so... I guess the lesson of that story is, if someone makes fun of you, conjure up bears.
Of course. Also, but yeah, can I just say it's weird looking at this game and seeing Waka?
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to him being more compact than like this compact self in Kingdom Hearts rather than, you know, River. Oh right, he's a lot older.
Yeah. I think
Same with Zack. Like Zack is another case where he's like a young teenager rather than the guy in his 20s.
Yeah, one other thing that I think is really funny about Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy characters is Leon and Cypher, because Leon looks like he's like 24, and then Cypher looks like he's 14. So I like to imagine like Cypher was this big bully to Squall in Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy VIII, and then in Kingdom Hearts, Leon just bullies him.
That would be, and then he takes it out on other characters like Roxas.
Yeah.
Okay, can I just say something for a long time? I never knew that Fu was a girl. I thought he was just like I thought she was just like a pretty boy in the Zexian department, like his Zexian kind of.
Yeah, I was fortunate.
Like, I had to go back and look at 8 and remember, like, wait, that's like, it's like that scene from the Lorax. It's like, that's a woman.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to play Kingdom Hearts 2 before Final Fantasy VIII, or at least not far enough into Final Fantasy VIII to see Fu, but I remember going to Final Fantasy VIII and seeing that. I'm like, that just looks like Zexion, but in a purple sweater.
Yeah, it's so weird, like the transition. Like, some of them look like one for one like themselves, and then others are just like, what if we made them younger? It's like,
I guess it takes the weirdness out of it, in a sense, if you make them younger, so that way it's not like Cypher, the 26-year-old beating up on Roxas, the 15-year-old.
yeah, but then again, it's so hilarious because the insults, like some of the insults they have in Kingdom Hearts, they just make me laugh at how absolutely stupid they sound.
We totally own you, lamers.
Own you, lamers. It's like, I wouldn't be mad at that. I just laugh.
Yeah, Hayner
Which
was
honestly
like,
would be more effective than beating the crap out of him.
Hayner was on the verge of tears after hearing that, and Roxas was just like, keep cool, keep cool.
Yeah, and then I just feel like, I'm like, no, that's not how you do insults. This is how you do insults, and just come up with something.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes in Final Fantasy 2, not Final Fantasy 2, Kingdom Hearts 2, is whenever you're fighting Cypher and he jumps up into the air, he's like, isn't this romantic? I'm like, no, not really.
What?
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, when he jumps up into the air, he like does a dive bomb onto you. Every time he does it, he says, isn't this romantic?
It's like, what is this? What are you talking about, you crazy teenager?
I don't know, Cypher, I'm not into that.
Well, to be honest, that's probably the sign he's gonna be, when he's older, he's gonna be a domestic abuser.
Yeah.
What's his idea of romance?
Roxas is like, sorry, Cypher, I'm not into that. I'm into this blonde girl with a white dress, but then also maybe later I'll be into this black-headed girl with this black-haired girl.
No, it's the reverse.
Yeah.
But, like, honestly, they can't decide what to do with my love life.
Yeah. They really
When
can't.
the friendships come off as more romantic than the actual romance.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, it gets really weird in some cases when you consider that somehow some of them are related. Like, for all intents and purposes, Roxas, Naminé, and Xion are all, in a sense, like siblings.
Yeah.
Because they're all technically, if you want to be a technical, Sora's kids. The same with Vanitas. Like, if you think about it, Roxas and Vanitas are the sons of Sora and Ven.
Right. Vanitas says to Ventus, like you and I are brothers, but that's actually more like Roxas and Vanitas.
Yeah, that is so true. It's like Vanitas, stop talking to your father that way.
Yeah.
Honestly, hindsight, if you look at it, Kingdom Hearts is a very gay series.
It really is. That's why you can't really get mad at it whenever it has some homoerotic stuff. Like funny or not, like there's a lot of unintentional homoerotic stuff in the Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, there's a reason people see, I mean, also it doesn't help the fact that a lot of these heteronormative, aside from Terra and Aqua, that one I can buy.
Yeah.
Like, the rest of it is like, it feels so vapid and empty. In comparison, whereas stuff like between the guys, especially the guys, it's like, oh yeah, they're definitely hooking up. Definitely hooking up.
Yeah, to me, it's like Terra and Aqua.
If the studios had the balls to do so.
Yeah, to me, Terra, Aqua, and I guess you want to count Ven as like their younger brother or something.
Son, yes, he is their son.
Yeah, their son. They would be like a nuclear family. And then, like, Sora, Kairi, and Riku, you know, they're younger, so they're like...
Polyamory.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was actually gonna say, like, they're younger, so they're more like, yeah, don't be such a square, and then they're into polyamory.
That would be a triangle.
and then leave Roxas
You don't want to be a square? Become a triangle. That is the best solution.
Funnily enough, if you add Naminé into the mix with Riku, Sora, and Kairi, it would be a square.
But wouldn't that Naminé technically be like his kind of adopted niece?
In a sense, I would assume so.
Yeah, that's a good reason a lot of, like, ships don't necessarily work. Like, I know, like, for example, Axel and Roxas used to be very popular, and I used to be into it to a degree for a while, and then I sat down and I thought about it. Roxas is, like, physically, mentally 16, like 15 around that, right?
Yeah.
Axel's in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
That's like, that doesn't work, and so I subscribed to him and Isa instead.
Yeah, it would work more.
They're a divorced couple. Like I was talking, and my co-writer put this best this way: they're a divorced couple, but they still love each other, and they want to patch up their differences.
I kind of see like Roxas and Axel being more like brothers. Like,
yeah, that's definitely what the vibe I get. Like Axel's like the older brother, and
yeah.
to Roxas and Shion.
Yeah, like Roxas and Axel were brotherly.
And now Kairi. Kairi is now his adopted sibling too.
Yeah, and I can see, because Sora and Riku more come off as actual friends. Whereas Roxas and Axel are definitely more brother-like, because they were literally part of a brotherhood.
Yeah. The brotherhood plus 2 women.
plus 2 kind of women.
The token females.
Yeah.
God.
They're like, well, you're the only one who really survived Union Cross. So, you get to be part of the organization. She's like, what's Union Cross? I imagine that's what it's like. Like, Xemnas knows what the lore of Kingdom Hearts is, and he goes up to, Aileen, or whatever her name is, before she becomes the nobody. Elrena, yeah, and she's like, well, you survived Union Cross, so you should become an organization member. She's like, what's Union Cross?
Same with Lorian.
Yeah.
Like, who became Marluxia.
I'm not gonna lie, I think a lot of people thought this, but when I first saw Marluxia, I thought Marluxia was a woman.
Apparently he originally was meant to be, and then until the team realized that it probably wouldn't be a good look if the ones to rebel against it were, like, the 2 women.
Right.
Female women, and the only 2 women in the group at that time. So they changed to Marluxia to what he is now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny given the fact he wouldn't be the only pink-haired character to have been changed gender in development. Because in, do you know, like, they have a new season of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
Yeah.
Because one of the characters in there, Anasui, who originally was originally presented for the first bit of the manga as a woman, and the idea was for her to be the love interest of the main character Jolene.
Mm-hmm.
But because this was back in the 90s, and the creators of this back in early days of Shonen Jump, and they were still pretty sexist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted that Shonen kind of has that issue with the gender representations.
Yeah. But
the idea, so Jolene being the female lead of a shonen manga was still a big thing for the time, and the fact that it seems that they weren't ready for the idea of her being a lesbian either. So they changed Anasui partway, and it's a good chunk of the way through. So Araki had to change Anasui from a woman into a man, just to please the ones in charge.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing about shonen, because shonen is aimed towards teenage boys, right?
Yeah.
So it would actually kind of make sense in a way to have more female leads because, you know, teenage boys are all about hormones. So it would make more sense in a way to kind of have more female leads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, the opening of the manga when they first introduced Jolie is her masturbating in prison.
Wow.
So it's like, you know, it's just that definitely would have been a thing to. Granted, it's not too explicit. It's
Right.
only implied, but yeah, it definitely would have attracted the male audience.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's kind of why I think One Piece just pops off so well, because, like, everybody in One Piece is sexualized. Like, the men all have, like, not even 6-packs, they have, like, literal just titanium 8-packs. And, you know, all the women look really nice, too. And
Yeah.
I think that's why One Piece hits so well, because, like, if you're interested in anybody, One Piece has that, because it also has, like, okamas and stuff like that. Which,
Oh, your stream just kind of went out.
yeah, I saved, and it does that whenever you're supposed to save. You know, like, so that way it doesn't, like, show your personal information or something.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, like, there's okamas in One Piece, and they're, like, I can't think of the word. Cross-dressers, kinda. You know, like, where they're, like drag queens. They're,
Drag.
yeah. And, the like, leader of Okama Land, who is just like an island, he has a devil fruit power that allows him to change, like, hormones. So he can go from a man to a woman basically whenever he wants, and he can do that to other people. And it's, like, it's really cool, and I really like the idea that they played around with that.
Imagine how many people, like, trans people in reality would just want that. Just, you know, just like, it's like, wait, you mean this can turn me in from, you know, this can change me on a biological level? Sign me the hell up.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if that
No more
existed,
dysphoria.
if that existed, there'd probably be a little bit less bigotry in the world towards that sort of stuff. If it existed from the beginning. That's one thing I'll never get around, is why there's so much, like, negative stuff about that. Like, all people are literally doing is just trying to be themselves.
Yeah. But, you know,
I think a big part of that,
people suck.
yeah, I think a big part of that definitely comes from, like, how strong of a hold oppressive religion has had over societies throughout the years. And it's only now when we start becoming less and less authoritarian with it that we're trying to, like go away from that sort of thing. But we're still not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I found, like, this meme that actually is honestly, but kind of not a meme, it's just that good advice, good kind of educational stuff. That kind of describes the differences, I guess, in terms of expression, I guess, like, between, like, the femboy, the drag queen, and trans women. Like, these different categories, and it's, like, really good, and then, because in the end, it's, like, you know, they deserve love and respect regardless.
Yeah.
It should be about there should be more personality and moral rather than stuff like that.
Oh shit. Yeah, I'm always.
Oh, hey, another Riku.
Yeah.
I remember they were originally going to put her in Kingdom Hearts 1, but then they realized, wait, we already have a Riku, so it might be too confusing.
Yeah, so they just went with Riku instead. And then they put this Riku in Kingdom Hearts 2 as her, like, 10-2 variant, and then they made her, like, this weird little puppet mascot thing. But at least they explain that somewhat. They explain, like, Maleficent used her power, so I could see Maleficent just being kind of a dick about it and be like, well, now, yeah, I mean, you can come into this world, but now you look like a doll.
Yeah. Also, we just bring up the fact of, like Maleficent is pretty much like stranger danger, basically. Like, In a sense, like, she's basically this weird kind of adult that's just like, oh, you can trust me, I'm definitely not bad or anything.
Yeah, she kind of, it's like she doesn't know what side she wants to be on. She wants to do bad, but she can't bring herself to do bad sometimes. Like,
yeah, I mean...
Come on, Melissa. That's why I'm, like, really disappointed that people refer to her and Pete as the Team Rocket of Kingdom Hearts, because that's so unfortunate that it had to be that way.
That she has to have that connotation.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, she's kind of lessened in terms of importance. At least she seems to be somewhat having a comeback in 3.
Yeah.
And in, like, in recent years, but still that... Yeah, it's still, it sounds like her importance has lessened.
Yeah. I mean, to be
Not
fair...
to the degree of, like, the Final Fantasy cast who pretty much just disappeared.
Yeah.
Between 2 and 3, and 3 Remind.
Mm-hmm.
But...
To be fair...
Well, that would be a lie, because Zack was in Birth by Sleep, but that was one character.
Yeah. To be fair to Maleficent, though, if we're going to compare them to Team Rocket, then she's Jessie, and Jessie was the more competent person in that team anyways.
Oh god, it's like... I mean, that is fair.
It's a low bar,
honest,
though.
I don't think that, like, Pete could pull off the cross-dressing as well as James. Not by a...
James had the body for it, Pete really doesn't.
Well, do you know what's one of my favorite moments from 2? Is when they go to the Pirates of the Caribbean world, and Pete looks so out of place when compared to Barbossa and his crew.
I love that.
It's like, he looks so out of... It's like, yeah, this is definitely believable, but it's just like these really realistic, for the time, models of, you know, these, like, pirates, like these 18th century pirates, right next to this cartoon cat.
Yeah.
This obese cartoon cat. Makes sense.
What's really funny,
which is why I'm so glad in 3 that they actually made the art styles mesh a lot more.
Yeah.
Because they actually look believable.
It's funny that you bring that up, because that reminded me about, because I've told you about Regular Path before, but one of his first videos ever was comparing Kingdom Hearts 2 to 1 and being like, does KH2 overshadow KH1? Which, yes, it does. But one of the things he was brought up is like how Disney characters kind of have no relevance anymore. It's like all about organization in 2. And he's like, isn't it weird seeing Pete in Port Royal and then thinking Barbossa wouldn't just say like, yeah, big cat man with zippers all over, like, that's cool and all, but where's the pirate treasure?
Yeah, we're cursed undead silly boys.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I would love to take this key and everything, but if this key can't unlock treasure, then, you know, I'm not in for it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, though I do like the way they integrated it in 3, especially with Davy Jones.
Yeah.
The fact that they were like, oh, this black moss maybe has something to do with hearts. It's like, oh, it's an actual physical heart. You have no interest in that.
That might be one of the darkest moments of Kingdom Hearts, is them literally stabbing into a heart.
Yeah. Though then again, that wasn't the original, so I would be very surprised if they didn't include that.
Yeah. I would hate if they censored it.
Could you imagine the reaction from Sora seeing the mermaids from Pirates of the Caribbean 4?
I don't know what they look like, actually, so I wouldn't...
Well, they look like normal mermaids, except they eat people. And they drag you into the water like they drag people. They're basically closer to the traditional siren than to, like, the Little Mermaid. Because they physically look like closer to the Little Mermaid, but then once they're in the water, you can see exactly the gills, and they actually grab shark teeth.
Wow, that is absolutely disturbing.
And they're so strong that they can pull an entire ship into the ocean with just whips made out of seaweed.
Oh. No, thank you.
Yeah, like that would be like the Magus or something. No worries, I'm used to working with these mermaids. They'll be fine.
I've been one of you before.
Well, and then there's like, shh.
I would love Sora just encountering one of those kinds of mermaids, and he was so like naive and thinking he could get them on his side that he ended up like getting like almost shred apart by them.
I mean, let's be honest, a lot of like Disney stories, yeah. I mean, a lot of the Disney stories were just really dumbed down versions of what they originally were. Like, mermaids in mythology were really nasty.
Yeah.
Like, I mean...
And then Rule 34 came along and made them even less terrifying.
There's... Oh, yeah, Sidon.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, think about it, the Zora are kind of...
The Zora are interesting because, like, in the 2D games, they look all, like, ugly and stuff, and then in the 3D games, they became, like, this magnificent creature.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild especially. Well, Breath of the Wild especially, they're like, yes, I wouldn't mind getting with a Zora. Yes, especially if they stay young for quite a long time.
Yeah.
That's a drop.
Yes, slippery
like
fish person.
Oh, it's like you're, you know, you mean you can... The slippery slow.
Yes, slippery fish person. I would love to travel with you and take down this gigantic water robot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very good reason people ship Aoife and Sidon with, like... And, yeah, I wouldn't mind, you know, just...
There's...
I mean, at least there's also a personality thing. They're different. Like,
there's definitely something there. Like, Link may not feel the same way, but Sidon definitely is, like, all over Link.
Yeah, definitely.
He has such a weirdly high opinion of Link, and it's weird because he doesn't really do anything besides like save him one time, and then he's like, "Oh man!"
And also probably because of his sister as well, because his sister was really.
Oh yeah, that would probably help.
And I can imagine it's like his part of like, well, you can't marry into the family of my sister, so I guess I'll have to take her place then. I'll take her place at the altar.
And Link's just like, oh, okay, it works.
Well, one fish person is as good as the other, I guess. Let's be honest, like, Link is very pretty. Like, there's no doubt about it, especially in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I have a newfound respect for the Gerudo people from Breath of the Wild because I really like the design of them. I like the gold trimming they have around their armor. I like the idea.
Oh yeah, the Gerudo are like especially good in that game.
I love how they're all like muscular too. Like even the ones that aren't part of the military are all muscular because it's like they're kind of like a warrior nation.
Yeah. Which honestly, that makes sense because they have to be prepared for war.
Yeah.
Because there's no menfolk. Because they have to go outside of the civilization to actually find dudes. Because you know, Ganon is... It's not like they can wait all this time just for one guy to show up.
Yeah.
Which is such an interesting theory. I've seen a theory that says that, like, Malon, you know, from Ocarina of Time, that says that her mom is a Gerudo because of her red hair, and how all Gerudo women have red hair. She's like the only kind of one that has that kind of thing among the Hylians.
Right.
Do I fully subscribe to it? Not really, but it's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Because we don't actually get to see.
Yeah, because red hair probably isn't exclusive to the Gerudo, but it would be an indicator. I'm probably gonna get Wakasashi here. Oh, thank God, I'm alive. Yeah.
Was that the swords, like the slice?
Yeah. Basically, I got auto life myself because I have Auto Phoenix, but you know, I can't really revive myself if everyone's dead. And there's really no way I could survive that because I don't have break HP limit. But, I like how we've played one of my favorite games of all time, and we've been talking about nothing but everything else.
Oh, sorry. What were we saying? My headphones kind of uncovered.
I was saying was, I like how we're playing one of my favorite games of all time, and we talked about so many other things, but not this. Which makes...
Well, I mean, I guess it's weird how it works.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense because, you know, most of this was just Blitzball, and I don't have much to say about Blitzball, besides what everyone else can just say about it.
Now I just want to include this guy in here. That's basically that would be cool because of his. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Design.
Oh yeah, I love the Aeon design in Final Fantasy X. I have a theory with one of my friends that Final Fantasy X and 15 take place in the same universe. If, like, maybe not at the same time, but definitely probably in the same universe. Because
well, I mean, that makes sense. It wouldn't be like, I mean, for example, a lot of games actually take place over different periods of time. Like in the Fire Emblem 4, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and 3, 3 and 13 take place in the exact same universe, but they're at different times.
yeah,
And even different continents in some of them.
I know.
And yeah, it's interesting.
I know some Final Fantasy games take place in the same continent as other ones, like Final Fantasy Tactics for the Game Boy Advance, I think, and Final Fantasy 12 both take place in Yblis. And I think,
mean, also, aren't all the Tactics games not actually in the same, in the same universe either, though? Because
I think they are.
I know there's one that basically takes place in a version of Earth, except it's just done in it's basically just the characters are teleported to this place. It's very weird.
I don't know, because I think 15 is probably the most, like, realistic one, quote-unquote, out of all of them.
Like 15 because of the contemporary attire?
Yeah. And, like, the cars and stuff, like there's a lot of stuff in Final Fantasy that's modernized, but they have really modern cars for a fantasy game. Which I like. I kind of like it, even if not everyone else did.
Well, I mean, I like the boy band.
I know, it was originally designed by Nomura, so that's kind of something I like too.
I mean, it explains why, the,
I wish,
a lot of, it explains, though, I mean, I know it's why, Yozora looks like Baptist.
Yeah. I wish we ended up getting Versus 13 instead of... Well, I kind of wish we got Versus 13 and 15. You know, like in a perfect world, I guess, in my sense. But I guess Verum Rex is a way of bringing Versus 13 to life. Nomura's like, well, you wouldn't let me finish what I wanted to work on, so I'm just going to put in something else.
This is my revenge.
Yeah. Now you're gonna have to suffer while Versus 13 is technically in the thing that you're promoting, Square Enix, and then Square Enix is like, no, stop. Good ideas. Did you hear Square Enix is actually trying to promote NFTs?
Like, honestly, I think a fortunate side effect, that's the fortunate side effect of cramming as much advertisement as you can for a cup noodles.
Yeah.
But, one of the crossovers promotions I didn't mind was the crossover they had with Assassin's Creed. That was cool. Like, the idea that Assassin's Creed exists as somewhat a part of the Final Fantasy universe is just... Yeah, it gives me joy, because I do love Assassin's Creed, for all its faults, and its questionable decisions on the part of Ubisoft. I still like it.
Yeah, I will...
Though it could be because I'm like a big nerd that loves history.
Yeah, I will say this for a fact, that I think Unity's multiplayer is a gem because of how buggy it is. Like, get Unity, get a friend to have Unity and play together, and you will have a blast just seeing how weird that game can glitch out.
So I find it interesting how Unity has found new life because of Notre Dame burning down.
Yeah.
Because the digital recreation of Notre Dame was so true to life that they're now using it to help. They were using it to rebuild the actual Notre Dame. That's cool.
One thing I heard about that, actually, the rebuilding of Notre Dame, is that they're actually putting other, like, religious symbols and, like, religious, like, things into the Notre Dame, like, architecture, and people are, like, offended over that. I'm like, dude, it's a building?
It's like a mixture. I mean, you know that they've done stuff like that, but not necessarily with religious thing, but more so with the gargoyles. That they did this remodel for, I think it was a cathedral, and the architects were replacing the gargoyles, and so they had to have fun, and they based them off of different things. Like there's a gargoyle based off of Darth Vader. There's a gargoyle based off of the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise.
That sounds awesome.
You can look this stuff up.
That sounds awesome.
Exactly. I mean, they had no real practical usage for making in that stylish, but they did.
Yeah. I see. What would really be cool if they rebuilt Notre Dame is they put like some kind of like spinning contraption in there. And I don't mean like a really stupid contraption. I mean like it like spins and it shows like a different religious symbol every day or something like that.
Cool.
Yeah. You good? I think you're cut out.
Yeah, I'm good. Right. Yeah, you were cutting out on my end, so I was just kind of...
Oh, probably connection thing.
Yeah, but just let me know when you want to do something.
Alright.
What?
I'm probably gonna...
After this one?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna fight this guy, and then I'm gonna save, and then we can do a live reading. I'm also making sure my computer is charged, because it was off the charger for like 2 hours last night. So.
Oh.
It's fine.
That sucks when you feel like... Well, it sucks when you do something with electronics, and you're there and like, wait, did I charge it? Or you're doing something and you're saving a project or something in a game and it's like, wait, did I save it? Did I do this? Do that? And it keeps you up. It's so annoying. Like you could do it right after, like you say, save like a project right there, and then a few seconds later, save it.
Yeah, throughout the years, I've grown a little bit more paranoid about that sort of thing, about saving not going right, and like if I was doing like a PowerPoint in high school or something, normally what I would do is I would like click Control S, maybe one more time. And in video games, I typically I save, and I'm like, I want to make sure I save, so I save again. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Oh my god. If there's one thing I will not defend about this is...
Yes.
There we go.
It's safe.
I remember, I don't remember what I was doing.
Oh god, Riku.
Huh? What's that about Riku? I think she looks really nice in this game.
At the end of that battle.
Oh yeah. I like her design in this game. I think like the short hair and like the kind of like vest she's got going on looks really nice. I like the orange aesthetic. Even though her color is supposed to be green.
And one of my friends, like Riku is one of his favorite Final Fantasy characters, like in terms of like the ladies.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of time for her design.
She's kind of like.
But yeah.
She's kind of like a hyper person, and I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna find
Yeah,
it.
She's got energy.
Yeah, I think her outfits, like in this game and especially the next game, because like in 10-2 she's like a lot more energetic and shit. And I think her outfits really kind of like portray that. So like if you look at artwork of her and never play the games, you would be like, oh, okay, she's probably like the kind of like hyper girl. And Tidus is kind of like a sports star. You can kind of get that vibe from him. Kamari is probably the only character in 10 I would say you can't just look at him and know what he's like. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my computer, I'm gonna bring it over closer to my mic, and then I'll pull up chapter 4.
Cool.
It is definitely fully charged. I came back to this save point because you know, the stream's still going since we're doing it live, and I was kind of wanting like calm music to kind of go over a reading. I just hope my computer doesn't do that thing it likes to do, where it'll just freeze up and I have to forcibly power it off. Whoa. I took a glance at chapter 4 and I realized this is like the biggest chapter yet. Shit's probably gonna go down in this one. Well,
You're good?
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. That was like a really long moment of silence, and I was thinking like, I really hope the connection just wasn't completely dropped.
No, I wondered the exact same thing.
Yeah, well, I was saying before, like, I took a cursory glance through chapter 4, just kind of scrolling down, and I'm like, damn, this is like the longest chapter yet.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Hold on, it's apparently Discord on my phone is trying to break. I think that's the problem. Alright, I think Discord on my phone is breaking because it just came up saying Discord isn't responding. So, I guess I'm just gonna use my phone to, not my phone, my computer. Yeah, alright. Let me just pull it up. Yeah, the stream's still on. I mean, we can do it on stream if you want. What? Oh, okay. Yeah, we can end the stream then, and then do it through call to ourselves. But since we're done, since Blitzball's done now, this stream was pretty much entirely supposed to be Blitzball. So now that it's done, I think we can end it, and then I'll do the live reading with you, or the Discord reading. Alright, that's gonna be the end of this stream for now, because this was just Blitzball and a couple other things, but unfortunately we're not gonna read on stream, but maybe another time. But join me next time for something else, because I'll do another stream, maybe. I don't know. I'll find something to stream about. So later.